Hi there guys, I hope you have had a good day. Now, as we know, Anthony Joshua will be bringing in Joyce to help him spar in preparations for Kubrat Pulev. Now, we don't know many more sparring partners that will be joining Anthony Joshua's team, but there are rumours that it could be Bryant Jennings and possibly Derek Chisora. Now, obviously Bryant Jennings and Joyce previously shared the ring with one another, and Bryant Jennings and Derek Chisora, I believe, will be working together as they prepare for Chisora's fight with Alexander Usyk. At least that was the thing that was going to happen when Chisora was first scheduled to fight Alexander Usyk. So whether that is still happening, I believe it will be, then ultimately it would be like Team Chisora teaming up with Team AJ for their next respected fights. Now, what is interesting is Anthony Joshua's mandatory is Kubrat Pulev. His mandatory is also Alexander Usyk within the WBO. So ultimately, Anthony Joshua will have to deal with his mandatories chronologically. First it's Kubrat Pulev, then it will be Alexander Usyk, provided he does come through Derek Chisora. But obviously Chisora is planning on winning that fight, and he will do everything in his power to make sure he does win that fight. But it's going to be an extremely tough task for Chisora. Now, does sparring Anthony Joshua help him prepare for Alexander Usyk? I wouldn't say so, not really, because there are two completely different styles. Usyk is a pressure fighter, fast moving, good feet, brilliant endurance as well. Whereas Anthony Joshua is taller, likes to fight at range and throw power shots. But he does work on the inside also, but he doesn't just go for the inside game. He mixes it up. He can fight at range and he also can fight on the inside. But, I mean, against Andy Ruiz Jr., he was fighting an out-and-out inside fighter, so it didn't work for him so well when he did trade up on the inside with Ruiz, especially considering Ruiz was smaller, made himself small, got on the inside, got under those punches, and landed a counter. So ultimately, Anthony Joshua wasn't the inside fighter in there with Andy Ruiz. Whereas when he fights Kubrat Pulev, he will be the inside fighter in that fight, because Pulev doesn't necessarily like fighting on the inside. He'd rather hold. So that is one thing Anthony Joshua can exploit in Pulev, make him fight when he wants to hold. And maybe that's why Derek Chisora would be, I guess, some kind of help in the addition to his training camp, because Derek Chisora does like to trade on the inside. But ultimately, I can't really see Anthony Joshua sparring Derek Chisora in preparation for Kubrat Pulev, because the styles are just completely different. But Bryant Jennings is probably a better choice because his style is slightly awkward and unconventional, kind of like Pulev, because Pulev is very different in his style of boxing, especially in the heavyweight division. He's very amateurish, he paws with the jab, very bouncy, and you never really know what is going to be coming. But the thing about Kubrat Pulev is he's always in a position to land his own punches. He likes to pressure as well and press his opponent, even when he has been hurt. So Pulev is kind of durable, more durable than maybe many would give him credit for. He likes to stay in the pocket and up close to his opponent, not necessarily trading on the inside, but that mid to long distance, where Anthony Joshua is also very good. But I think that the way that Anthony Joshua will break Kubrat Pulev down is to work on the inside, because that's the one glaring flaw to Kubrat Pulev. He doesn't like trading up on the inside, and I've never really seen him doing that well when he does it. I mean, against Hughie Fury, they did get up close, and against Derek Chisora, they did get up close, but most of the time, he will just hold on, and then obviously the ref will reset them. Then he doesn't have to trade up on the inside. But I think that Anthony Joshua is good enough with his punches and his footwork as well to get into range and make sure that Kubrat Pulev doesn't hold on and tie Anthony Joshua up. Because the thing is, in there with Hughie Fury, he would often tie up Hughie Fury because he was a stronger man and able to work on the inside by doing that. Not necessarily throwing punches on the inside, but holding, allowing the ref to reset them. Then he could go back to a distance he was happy fighting at. So he was the stronger man in that fight. Against Derek Chisora, he was the bigger man. Maybe at that point in their careers, maybe the stronger man. So he was able to do what he wanted with those two fighters on the inside. But he can't do that with Anthony Joshua, because Joshua is the stronger man. Now, the interesting thing about the style of sparring partners that Anthony Joshua is looking into, this is just rumours at the moment, so not 100% certain, but the interesting thing about them is they all have a similar quality, endurance and a certain amount of durability. And you have obviously the awkwardness and speed of Bryant Jennings in there as well. Not so much that case with Derek Chisora, and maybe not Joyce, but the chin and obviously the endurance are two things that both Derek Chisora and Joyce do possess, and Bryant Jennings as well. He is surprisingly durable and has great endurance going through the 12 rounds. Now, it's not 100% certain if Derek Chisora is joining Anthony Joshua in camp. I don't believe he will, because I don't think that the styles work at all for either of them. Derek Chisora is nothing like Kubrat Pulev. Anthony Joshua is nothing like Alexander Usyk. The one I'm interested in is Bryant Jennings. Now, of course, as I said previously, Bryant Jennings is helping Derek Chisora, or was helping Derek Chisora for Alexander Usyk. Whether he still is, we don't know at the moment, but that was going to be the plan. So, does Bryant Jennings represent the same kind of style as Alexander Usyk and Kubrat Pulev? No, not necessarily, but what Anthony Joshua is trying to do is build the style of his opponent in sparring. He's never going to get someone who can exactly replicate perfectly the style of Kubrat Pulev, so he needs to find different kind of sparring partners who can replicate that style. So the durability and the endurance of Joyce, then maybe the speed, movement and awkwardness of Bryant Jennings. So ultimately what he will do in that is he'll have someone who can go the 12 rounds easily, and you can hit him as hard as you want. He will still be standing there in Joyce. Then you have Bryant Jennings, who will be in there being really awkward, hard to catch clean, and who will time his punches. The same thing applies with Derek Chisora in his preparations for Alexander Usyk. He needs to find different sparring partners who can replicate a different part of Alexander Usyk's game. He's never going to find someone exactly the same as Alexander Usyk, never. But what he can do is find different sparring partners who can replicate a certain quality of Alexander Usyk that he maybe is looking to exploit or looking to thwart, because the best thing I think that Derek Chisora can do in there with Usyk is not just focus on what he is doing, but focus on taking things away from Alexander Usyk. And funnily enough, I think that Anthony Joshua will take a similar approach in breaking down Kubrat Pulev, because I think that Anthony Joshua learned a lot from the experience with Andy Ruiz Jr., that it's not just about what you do, but it's about taking things away from your opponent. Like I said previously about Derek Chisora and Alexander Usyk, because in the rematch with Andy Ruiz Jr., the way to beat Ruiz was to box him, not allow him to get on the inside and land his hooks. Straight shots will land better than hooks, because obviously hooks are shorter and straight shots go straight, so the longer reach is going to win out. Anthony Joshua has the better reach, and obviously he's throwing straight shots as well, so Ruiz is always out of range when throwing his hooks. You don't hook with a hooker. AJ done that in the first fight, he didn't do it in the second one. Look at the results and differences in performance and the outcome of the fight. So I think that Anthony Joshua did learn that, as well as many other things in the rematch with Ruiz. Take things away from your opponent. So with Kubrat Pulev, it would be fighting on the inside, because Pulev doesn't like doing that. And those will be things that Anthony Joshua is working on in training, in sparring, to prepare for the fight. So he knows what to do once he's in there with Kubrat Pulev. So he's best prepared for whatever outcome might happen, whatever Kubrat Pulev is in front of him on December 12th. Because Pulev is definitely coming to win. This is his last opportunity. So Anthony Joshua cannot afford any slip-ups. He must be fully prepared for Pulev. Sparring partners will help him get there by replicating a different part of Kubrat Pulev's abilities and skills. Guys, anyway, what are your thoughts on this? Make sure you leave your thoughts in the comments below, leave a thumbs up and subscribe if you are new. Thanks, guys.